Well, did you wonder, like I wondered, the past few days? Well, ever since Donald Trump decided to bomb the ever living hell with our most sophisticated bombs, these BMOP bunker buster bombs, with some of our, at least the most, the known, uh, most highly advanced technology. There's going to be a lot of highly advanced tech that we don't know about, of course, but the B 2 bomber, some of the most highly advanced technology that we know exists. And didn't you think it was strange? I was telling so many people, I told Kate, I said, this is very strange, isn't it? Very strange that Donald Trump keeps talking about the pilots. The pilots did the pilots, you are literally Trump and others following his lead, or maybe they were also in the know, following the lead there, talking about you are defaming the pilots. And we were like, what? What are you talking about, defaming the pilots? There is the pilots of the B-2 bombers are just a small, tiny number. There are only 2 pilots to each B-2 bomber. And there were 7 or so that flew. But there were thousands and thousands and thousands of other members of the military that participated in these strikes on Iran. I mean, you just talking about in the air, you have the tankers that refueled as well, and you had the fighter jets as well, who provided security for the B-2s, and there were other aircraft as well that provided more security, from radar and surface to air, so sound, so many other things. There were pilots galore, and yet Trump was just like, the B-2, they did an amazing thing. The B-2 pilots, nobody else in the world could have done what the B-2 pilots did. And I'm like, all right, well, just all of the aircraft, tons of aircraft. And he's talking about just the pilots in the B-2s. Then you have everybody on the ground. You have everybody who loaded the ordnance. You had everybody who worked on the B-2s, prepared them for the flights. Everybody who worked on all the assisting aircraft, prepared them for the flights. Everybody on the ground who were monitoring. Everybody in the seas who were monitoring. Everybody in the air, the AWACSs that were in the air monitoring, and on and on and on. Everybody working and using the satellites to monitor the air, sea, and ground in Iran, and the totality of these trips. They're not going to let these things just fly anywhere. You're really talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of service members, and probably also thousands and thousands of civilians as well participating in this. And yet Trump is talking about endlessly, it's the pilots. The whole thing was the pilots, and they did the most amazing job, and nobody ever could have done it except for these B-2 pilots. And I thought, this is a really curious thing. This is, if I started telling, I said, this is a very curious thing that he's just talking about the pilots. I suspect that the pilots are non-white. I suspect that the pilots are female. I suspect that this was a request by Donald Trump's White House, because they're putting all this weight. It was too on the nose for me. All of this talk, when other occasions when Donald Trump is talking about the United States carrying out strikes, the United States achieving things militarily, he talks about how amazing the military is, how amazing our airmen are, how amazing our Marines are, how amazing our sailors, our GIs, on and on. He doesn't just talk about a very specific couple of people, right? It's not just a very specific. Were there 8 B-2s in total? So 16 individuals or whatever it ends up being. He doesn't just talk about a very specific group of individuals. And it's amazing. It comes out today that at least 4 are female. at least one of those female is non-white. Take a look at this. One of the B-2 bombers was a female. So badass, says this absolute cuck bitch. Untangled answer. Look, I got to tell you what. For all of these guys out there, guys, listen up close, guys. For all of the guys out there that worship females like this, these guys, now I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you what these guys need to have this situation corrected. And that is a severe and protracted ass beating. I don't do it. I'm not saying to do it, but if it happens to these cuck guys that worship females like this, and they're like, they are our epic leaders, a good hard ass whooping will help to cure that. We're going to need that, because if guys don't stand up and put an end to that garbage, the females will amass small armies of these little cuck loser males. Look at this garbage video. Can't play the audio because it's big. So, there you go. The auto's trying to come through. Now, look, here are the guys. They're all excited. They're like, she's taking off. And what is this, the F-35? And look, and then he's like, woo, I'm going to make a flying birdie. And the guys are like, yeah, boss babe, bitch. And there, yeah, she's taking off. Girls, girl power. The cucks are celebrating this across the internet. This is some huge victory. By the way, when I was in high school, there were guys back when I was in high school that said, oh no, females will never, they were already filling up the military with females and absolute 100-pound loser males. And I said, look, we have developed a push button way to kill. Anyone of any size can end up pushing these buttons of any sex. You don't have to be like the warriors at Troy. You don't have to be the warriors at Thermopylae anymore. You don't have to be the Audie Murphys and Desmond Doss and Sergeant Yorks anymore. You just got to press a button, and they will, with anti-whiteism, turn it all over to other groups. They'll take it all away from white males. And what do you know? What do you know? Totally white erased. There you have it. All the boss babe girls. And the cucks are celebrating this like you would not believe. Here you have another cuck, Thomas. Thomas says, this is what a real American woman looks like in the military. She's the pilot of the USAF B-2 bomber that wiped out Iran's nuclear sites. Yeah, she did it. Thank God. Thank God we had these tacos over there to take out Iran. I feel so inspired to be an American. Fucking sickening. This is the purview of men, bitches. This is the purview of white men. Ain't no goddamn way I am going to celebrate a female warrior. Fuck you. Wiped out Iran's nuclear sites. She is the one. That's the bomb. I swear it says that if you can't read it. B-O-M-B. Best of military bombers. Folks, they have been working their asses off in the U.S. Air Force to put females into these roles. And I think that they have white erased 10 males, 10 white males from the role of flying B-2 bombers to replace them with females, white and otherwise. And here they were, some of them in this. And I guarantee you that Donald Trump, measuring the morality of his acts by what is anti-white enough in the West, just like everybody else, said before the mission, make sure I get some females and some non-white pilots wherever you got to find them. And then I'm going to set it up real big with the media. I'm going to make the media look really bad because I'm going to say, hey, you're defaming our pilots who were the ones, the B-2 pilots. They did it all by themselves. They loaded the B-MOPs and everything. They fueled these things by themselves. They flew the tankers with telepathy. They did it by themselves. And then I'm going to build up the pilots. And then I'm going to say you're slandering our pilots. And then I'm going to break out the girls and the non-white pilots on them. Obviously, that's what happened. Here you have a different female. This woman was among the pilots piloting the B-2 stealth bombers. Oh, I feel so safe. Thank God. Look at her fucking 50-inch waist. Look at her fucking needing 2 car seats to fit that ass. I am so excited. This is the U.S. military. Absolutely disgusting. This is the new masculinity. Now that white males have been white erased, this is the infernal alliance between the anti-white, white female and the rest of anti-whiteism. They will take every job away from a white man. They are absolutely, just give it to me. I will step right on his balls on my way to have that job. That white man's technology, white men's weaponry, white men created a push button so it could be safe for the cupcake here. And let me tell you, she's eating plenty cupcakes. Safe for this little estrogen-filled bitch. No, it pisses me off to white erase me from our roles. I want to see some absolutely physically masculine, handsome white men at the controls for me and my country. That's what I want to see. I want to see I want fire shooting from everything they do. Get this bitch a Care Bear. How about this little cupcake? She was one of the B-2 bombers, pilots, that you can now celebrate as the American masculinity. Major Lauren Cram is only the 10th woman to become a B-2 pilot. She was in the cockpit of one of the B-2 stealth bombers during Operation Midnight Hammer. I could just see, she can't even hang a picture in her apartment swinging a hammer, but she was Operation Midnight Hammer at the Fordo nuclear Iran. Let's see, I bet she's totally badass.
Didn't Lauren Cram go by Fuse?
Oh God, yeah, she's total badass. You could just tell, listen to her voice. Total kick-ass.
And I'm a B-2 pilot. So my aircraft, it's actually the B-2 bomber. It's a...
I made this little model to show you all.
Stealth aircraft. It's
built by white men.
It's one of the legacy bombers.
Now watch, any female in the so-called white sympathetic sphere, the white sympathetic sphere in general, but any female that claims to be white sympathetic, it wouldn't be any white positive females, that's for sure. But any female out there that's going to say, well, why would Jason be so mad over this? Fuck her, ostracize her, kick her ass right out. Because this is the purview of white men. That's why Jason is so mad. And your female ass should be just as furious over this. This is white erasure. That's why Jason is so mad.
And it's just really interesting because it doesn't really look like a normal airplane. So that provides a lot of interesting... So after pilot training, I got the C-21 Learjet and flew that in Europe for about 3 years. I literally Googled college degrees that have to do with physics, found aeronautical engineering. It's like, I like airplanes. Colleges that are good for aeronautical engineering, found the Air Force Academy, went to the Air Force.
All right, enough. Went to the Air Force Academy, was seen that she was female and non-white, and that's perfect for white erasure. And they were like, hey, you want to be a B-2 pilot? You know, kind of just like that female that flew that Black Hawk into the civilian airliner. Hey, you're a female. You can get decent grades at school. And so you want a job to white erase a white male? You want to take a white man's job? Yes. Yes. Fucking sickening. There she is again, all smiles. Man, I can't. You know what? This is what I've talked about before when it comes to inspiring boys or our white boys, or giving them nothing to look forward to in life. When you have the town parade, and we were just talking about this when I briefly was on the Tree Godfather space on Twitter. A white male's raison d'etre, genetic, spiritual reason for being, is to provide, protect, and lead. And when he cannot do that, it's not just, and for ladies out there who you can't understand it. It doesn't happen inside of you. You can't appreciate this. So you have to sit down and listen and then understand that there's something very important to the lives of white men that we have to make room for. That's all there is to it. You have to participate making room for it. Because when we cannot provide and protect and lead, we don't say, oh, shucks, guess I'll just go do something else. We literally have a voice saying, then in our heads, that says, then why are you alive? If you are not able to provide, protect, and lead, then what is your reason for being alive? Now, it is that impulse that has given you, ladies of both sexes, a nursery room in the West where you can play B2 pilot. Because without that biospiritual driver in white males, there is no safe space for you bitches. Do you understand that? Because things revert to the jungle. And then your ability to survive the jungle is not provide, protect, and lead. That is our raison d'etre. Yours is on your back with your legs open. Let's face it, throughout history, with rare exception, and when we see those exceptions, we celebrate them in women. When a conquering force of men of superior intelligence, superior strength, superior cunning, superior will, when they invade and they defeat the men that are present, the females survive by getting on their backs. So you ungrateful bitches taking our jobs, you ungrateful cur bitches taking our roles in society by way of anti-whiteism. Listen up. When those little white boys at the parade, at the Independence Day parade, we got the 4th coming up, the birthday of the United States. When those parades roll down, and instead of seeing the white men heroes in uniform or out of uniform, marching down the street. Now they're members of lodges. Now they're leaders in the community. Now they're helping out the poor, the indigent, and the needy. Now they have these veteran stories of hells that they survived, that females will break down, and the evidence everywhere, break down and cry, totally lose their shit. Just like every accident. I just saw the news of an accident where a helicopter crash landed beside an airport. All of the women were screaming. 2 guys ran at the crashing helicopter with the rotor going, spits going everywhere. 2 civilian guys white guys ran at it. That's the mentality that preserves that nursery room of Western civilization that we created for you. And the respect we get in response is for the little white boys, our sons, our grandsons, our great-grandsons, nephews, cousins, brothers, to look on and to see, no, there's no male celebrated for masculinity. No, the masculine role goes to little Quan or whatever her name is here. Cram. She is that masculine dominating force that defeated the Iranians. Fuck you, Donald Trump, for participating in that, because you thought you're going to get a one-up on the anti-whites. That's exactly what happened here. This is not chance. This is not an accident. That out of all of the pilots for B-2, the B-2 bomber, that they just happened to use almost all of the female pilots that they have? Are you joking? This was a fucking request. That's why he was saying, he and Hexeth and so many others were saying, are you bad-mouthing our B-2 pilots? Like, what are you talking, B-2 pilots? This was a national effort. What do you mean bad-mouthing just the B-2 pilots? Now it becomes clear. The jig is up. You really sprung a trap on him there, Trump. He's going to have them, by the way, all to the White House. He's going to have them. What do you want to bet there's going to be some more non-whites in there? What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet that the Hispanic pilot, the black pilot, or two black pilots that they have erased white guys from to put these people, what do you want to bet that they were also included in this attack? What do you want to fucking bet? This is the white erasure. This is the kind of thing that the entire white race, at least those who are white positive, should all be furious about. That is not the face. I want to see a fucking absolute specimen of a white man. That's what I want to see. I want to see a white guy doing pull-ups, totally shredded, looking beautiful, in the sun and sweating and six-pack, and then he goes and climbs in his flight suit and jumps up there. Because that is what we want our young men, our young boys to imitate, to become. I want them to look like King Rambo. Because when it comes right down to it, when the shit hits the fan, when the jungle actually has to be hacked back by warriors, it'll have to be those white guys. It won't be Cram here. It'll have to be those white guys. When it's just like I just saw, I wish I could, I forgot to include it today. Yet again, another video. Every week there's at least two of female police officers, and this is what won this week. Two female police officers attempting to arrest an absolutely abject, emaciated black guy. I mean, like, ghetto, cracked out black guy, not presently on drugs. He's not writhing around or anything. And they decide they're going to take his ass into custody. But no, they're not. Because he beats the shit out of two female police officers. And the second one, she gets up off the ground, runs back over to help her colleague, and then doesn't. She stops, she gets up close, and then he looks at her, and she's like, whoa, you can just keep beating on her. Don't worry about me. I'm not going to get involved here. That is the crams of the world. When it gets real, when the white man hasn't given you a button to press, when it gets real, it's going to have to be those white guys. When it gets really real, if we don't have the white boys become Herculean white men, like that stood at Thermopylae, the Islam and the Persians will run us over. That's the reality of it. So that's why I'm pissed about this. And another thing, obvious and predicted. We've got disagreement saying the white males, the young white males, they don't want to work, they don't want to provide. That the consequence of anti-whiteism. That's the consequence of this. That's the reality. And unless you want an environment where females and their interests are of no concern, their decisions are of no concern, unless you want an environment like that, then females have to assume agency and authority and responsibility over their behavior. And they cannot act in a way that's detrimental to white males. You cannot sit around and say, well, they just need to do. Because I can tell you what, we can do. We can absolutely push your ass out of the way. We can absolutely outperform you. The problem is that the authority structure are going to reward you, discriminate against us. And unless you say, I'm not going to take it from the white male, unless that's what you do, shut your fucking mouth. Because when it comes right down to it, and this reverberates throughout all of the decisions when it comes to men and women. Females decide what guys are going to get a date. Because if men decide, it's called rape. We did that for you because we love our mothers, our sisters, our wives. We did that for you. White men did that for you. Get some respect. We didn't have to do that shit. And then when it comes to our interaction with other societies, we compel them to behave the way that we deem is normal. And if they don't behave that way, then we won't do business with them. That's the white male doing that for the world. Get some respect. Well, they're just going to have to stand. Let me promise you, I can run circles around your ass and every other female, including Cram here. And in whatever task it is, run circles around her. And the problem is, she's going to take advantage of the discrimination against me. Now, she's non-white as well. So I can't condemn her like a white female who should be doing for our people. But I sure as hell can condemn your ass if you're white. Sit down. Don't take advantage of the discrimination against white males. Stop choosing only the top 10% of prettiest males to pursue. Give all the males, especially those on your level in looks, an opportunity to date. And you'll see a very different response from the white male population. You're going to complain about the state that you fucking put them in. Well, they give up and they just go to their basements and they just play video games and they don't want to do anything because they can't get a fucking facelift. They can't get a face transplant and look like the top 10% of prettiest guys to get a date. They can't go get a race transplant so that they're not discriminated against in employment. That's fucking disgusting. Sit around all day long and demand attention to female feelings, female needs, female everything, and then complain about where the white male ends up as a consequence. You can look out into the world and see the discrimination. Start yourself, bitch. Disgusting. Who's going to be collecting all of the violent garbage that the anti-whites have allowed into the country? It's going to be white males. White males, primarily in ICE. We don't see a bunch of girls. They are in these ancillary roles where white males had to be white erased to put them there. So white males can't be in those roles either. But they're in the basements. I wonder what they're just in basements. They're just a bunch of losers. Fuck you. The streets are full. The streets are full of predators because of anti-whiteism. And it's white males having to go risk their lives every day. Jacked white guys for which you have no appreciation for, which you don't give a shit about. They're just fungible. It's just, they can just be replaced by anybody. Unbelievable disrespect. There will have to be tomes written about the disrespect that white females give to white males. Now you sit around, we're going to be looking at France. Look at the anti-whiteism. At the anti-whiteism in France. Now females are running around. Well, what are we going to do? They're syringe attacking. Who knows what they're injecting people with? You're getting what you voted for. You're getting what you fought for. You don't respect the warrior on the fence of civilization. And then you're surprised that the hordes of animals have poured in and that warrior on the fence has decided to go home. So white males going out. This is yet again, another female celebrating all the females that she has found so far were pilots in these B-2s. Absolutely. The cucks are disgusting. They are the absolute worst of the white race. But here you have white males coming together again to try to save society, try to save the West yet again by erecting alligator Alcatraz in Florida. And you know what? If the hand of white males wasn't held back by so many white females, so many anti-whites in general, the punishment would be so ugly, so oppressive, that there would actually be self-deportations in the millions. I can promise you that. But instead, we have to celebrate this little pittance we get from alligator Alcatraz.
No problem. But all the stuff that goes into intake and processing of illegals, you're seeing this put up. This is all 24 hours. 24 hours from now, you're going to see even more. And by Tuesday, this will be able to have intake of illegals.
And you've thought of everything. Okay, so there are 4 gigantic tents. Let's come on over here, Governor. And people are thinking, okay, you're in the middle of the Everglades. It's hot. That would explain why you've got this bank of air conditioners here.
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be, illegals will come in, they'll be processed. There'll be places for them to be housed. You'll have an ability for food.
We have a female in the chat saying she don't need no man. Actually, it's nothing but white guys that provide an environment, a push button environment for you so that you can live without an actual man in the house. So accept that reality. Appreciate white males. Say you actually live by way of and in the mercy of thousands of white males. The power comes to your house because of white males. The water comes to your house because of white males. What you put in the toilet and the trash that you put out front leaves your house because of white males. Civil Western civilization exists because of white males. So fuck you for saying you don't need any male.
You'll have an ability for them to consult legal rights if they have that, because there is a process that's involved with this. So this is really everything. This is going to be a self-contained little area. And then, of course, you also have stuff for the staff that work here. So we've got laundry facilities, we've got showers, we've got, obviously, there you see the shower.
Yeah, anybody saying that they don't need a man are gone. They should not be in the white sympathetic sphere. Gone. That is a instant identifier as an anti-white piece of shit. That phrase, I don't need a man, is a meme pathogen.
Bath facilities. Yep.
I don't need a man because all the other white men created this push-button safe environment, this nursery room for me. So I don't need a man at the house. You piece of shit. You abject piece of shit.
Right there.
Yep.
Where do you go to get a bunch of bathrooms like that?
Well, so this is being done by the Division of Emergency Management. So when we have a hurricane, like we would actually have people stage here for hurricane response normally,
Right.
anyways, but we have it when we have all the linemen come in to do the power.
Sure.
We have to set up little areas for them, and so you have all this type of stuff. So this is not our first rodeo.
So this is going to be something like, we'll take a look at an article. I think it's something like 30,000 or something beds that they have there. I would stack them like cordwood. I'd make it up to 90,000, and it's supposed to be a one-stop shop when you're deporting. Deport them all. I don't care how young. I don't care if they cry. I don't care. This is our country. This is ours. We, the white race, are the country. We are a United States. Other people are allowed. We've allowed other people to participate, and where they are honest contributors and they're obeying our laws, we deeply appreciate that from them and recognize that. That said, it's still ours. We are America. There is no America without the white race. And so I would stack these garbage pieces of up in this place like cordwood, shipping their asses right out.
Detainee, illegal alien.
And I would literally. They're saying this like in a funny way, and the cucks are going to say, "Oh, it's a big victory. We got this alligator Alcatraz." No, if white men were in charge, it would literally have alligators around it. I mean, can I get an amen for literal alligators around this shit? That's what we actually built Alcatraz. Do you think that was built by the Kwans? Do you think that was built with female sentimentality involved? With gynocentric notions? We put people out on a rock in the middle of the water. Fill it with sharks and alligators.
Missions a little bit different and the deportations, but logistics, we know how to do that.
Right, and for people thinking, okay, they're going to put the migrants on this hot asphalt, it looks like
You mean the intruders, and they're going to put them on the hot asphalt? Hell yes.
building a subfloor, and in fact, some guys
Oh, they're going to build them a subfloor so they can be comfortable.
putting down the plywood.
Yeah, no, look, this will be, I mean, there's not going to be anything that they're hurting for anything. There'll be AC. There'll be things that.
Amen for the alligators. Why do they need AC?
Right.
Why do they need AC? The vast majority of them, all of them, come from hot-ass places. They're used to it.
It's being done by the book.
Well, when you think of the imagery of Alcatraz, Alcatraz is surrounded by a bay. Here in the Everglades, you're actually surrounded by gators and pythons.
So this is as secure as it gets. I mean, if a criminal alien were to escape from here somehow, and I don't think they will, you've got nowhere to go. I mean, what are you going to do? Trudge through the swamp and dodge alligators on the way back to 50, 60 miles? Just
A moat with alligators and sharks.
to get to civilization? Not going to happen.
Ron DeSantis, Florida helping increase deportations. Alligator Alcatraz ready to intake illegals Tuesday. Florida's stepping up to help increase deportations. Governor Ron DeSantis said this week, I want alligators with laser guns on their heads. Is that what Dr. Evil said? With alligators and sharks with lasers. Showcasing the most notable move by the Sunshine State in preparing Alligator Alcatraz. Florida is stepping up to increase the deportations. Alligator Alcatraz is a secure facility in Florida that will stage criminal illegal aliens for efficient mass deportations. I gave Steve Ducey a tour this morning. That's what you all were just looking at, sharing the clip of his tour in the facility. DeSantis said the facility, the Miami-Dade Collier Training Facility, see, it's already some kind of, it needs to be built for housing in a most painful way so that people don't come back. And we really got to talk about this when it comes to like birthright citizenship, and we're going to get onto that a little bit later. We got to keep moving here. But this, from start to finish, has been an anti-white endeavor, engendered by anti-whiteism, motivated by anti-whiteism and female notions, female sensibilities about being nice to imported workers. We can have, just like so many countries, so many other countries around the world, imported workers. If that's the thing, and the argument is we'll just import workers, we need workers for our economy. We need workers to pick strawberries. Imported, never citizens. Their children are never citizens. And when they're done picking, they go the fuck back. What this notion that they get citizenship for coming here has been anti-white from the start. DeSantis facility, Miami-Dade, helps answer the mounting capacity issue. There needs to be more ability to intake, process, and then deport. So this answers that, the governor said. This is going to be able to have more than 3,000. It would be 9,000 if it were me. If I were the governor of Florida, they would be stacked like cordwood. And then I would, just like the old Southern sheriffs, how they used to handle things. If reporters came in and they wanted to complain about the poor treatment of the criminals, well, then these reporters would just be found to have stolen more chain than they could swim with. Couldn't believe they would do such a dumb thing. You know, we got across this country about 750,000 illegals that have already been ordered to be removed by an immigration judge. We've probably got 50,000 or more in Florida. So obviously Florida's chock full. There needs to be a deep cleanse, a colonic cleanse. We got to get a gigantic pipe, shove it up the ass of Florida, because there are whole parts of Florida that they don't even speak English, because there are so many Cubans and everything else. You're leaving. This is America. You're going too. I don't care if you've been here since the fucking 50s. This is America. You shouldn't have been given citizenship. This is America. Shoving the pipe up the ass of Florida. We're going to give a colonic like there's never been. Absolutely unacceptable. But I came here as an immigrant. I came here as an immigrant. Yeah, and then you created this enclave that when you go into it, the white people, there shouldn't be any part of a white country where we drive and suddenly feel like we are in Puerto Rico. If we want to visit Puerto Rico, we'll go to Puerto Rico. If we want to visit Cuba, we'll go to Cuba. That's not America. America is not this multiracial patchwork of the world. We're all American. What makes you American? Because you shit on the soil that my ancestors fought for, died for, created Western civilization on? That's what makes you American? Go to hell. Went down there years back in Miami. They refused to even speak English to me. Gone. No. Gone. If I want to go someplace where everything looks alien and nobody speaks my language, I'll go to your country. So we're working hard. We have to reassert ourselves, folks. We have to reassert ourselves. We have to be honest about it. We have to hold the moral high ground. And we are asserting our will. Not asking. I'm not asking. I am asserting. Facility would be able to intake illegal migrants by this coming Tuesday. Illegal invaders who need to get the absolute hell out. Why? Because when we have these other populations come in to the United States, come into the UK, come into Germany, come into France, they enclave. and they build up numerical courage. And once they build up numerical courage against us, they project their instincts onto our environments, and they make our environments their environments. And sometimes when they make our environments their environments, they won't speak to you in our language. And sometimes they will shove a syringe in you, like they were doing in Florida.
Okay, this is strange. Almost 150 people were stabbed by needles during a French music festival. But what's stranger is that it was a coordinated event with over 12 people getting arrested. Now, it's not clear what was in those needles. Most of the victims are still in the hospital. But what do you think is going on? Okay, this is strange.
All right. So now we get to hear the white women start complaining. I can't go out and have a good time. All I want to do is party. All I want to do is go to the job that I have because they've white erased the white males and make a bunch of money that I frivolously spend on all of these things that, and many of the things that if I just had picked properly and found a decent white guy to have as a spouse, as a spouse in my home with me that he could do, but now I spend it off all on all these handymans and all of these others to come in, and then the sex toys to take the place of the man as well. I'm just spending all of this money because I'm a strong and empowered woman. So strong and empowered, guys. Tell me, how many times have you been with a woman and if she doesn't remember it's time to eat, then she's coming unglued. She's hangry, and then when she is reminded it's time to eat, she's asking you, what do you want to eat? She's so strong and empowered and independent, can't even figure out what she wants to eat. So now we get to hear, well, my party places where I get to go out and dress up like a little whore slut with my jugs hanging out and my shorts up my ass, and irrespective of how hideous the actual female is. How many times do we got to see these females out there in public dressed up like horse, 300 pounds, and they're like, well, the guy in their question, what kind of man are you looking for? Well, he's got to be 6 feet, he's got to be in optimal shape, and you're looking at like this 250-pound heifer, hideous face, everything gross. He's got to be over 6 feet and in really good shape, got to take really good care of himself, got to have a really good job. So now these little places where they can go out and be a slut and have all of the men eyeing them, and because that men will select women all up and down the chart for a mate, unlike females, and have all the men ogling them. And now they're like, well, geez, they're injecting me with anthrax or AIDS or HIV or the precursor or any other blood-borne disease. All the ones that you've heard about, all the ones that you haven't heard about. So in these people, not just in these articles, they make it sound like, well, maybe it was a date rape drug. Maybe it was one of these, so that it will just wear off. Your kidneys and liver will just clean it all out. No. You see, you have massive male population that are from other parts of the world, and the great white man's way is not their way. They're not going to give deference to your slut ass. No. They're not going to idealize and give deference to you, and then everybody get nervous when you start crying or have a problem. By the way, all that shit's got to go. All that shit's got to go. Worshipping white women got to go. Deference got to go. You're no better than any man. Absolutely no better. You're no worse, but you're no better. End of this preference, bitches. So these guys coming from all these other lands, guess what happens when they, and this to the comment from the ungrateful white bitch who was here earlier, this to her, what happens when these men from other parts of the world, these males from other parts of the world, when they are not part of the 10% of guys, prettiest face guys getting all the attention from all the girls out there? Well, you know what they don't do, bitch? They don't go home and game. They don't go, "Oh, shucks, I don't have a chance. So I'm just going to pack up and go home and entertain myself playing video games. And then when I feel like I need a female, I'll have to talk to my mom or my sister for a female type of companionship. And then when I need the sexual element of it, then he goes and gets pornography that you then slander him for using after denying him the possibility of being a mate. And then you slander him for his recourse to pornography. Fuck you for that as well. You know what? Those guys from other countries, they don't do that like the white guys do, that you then slander for being home and gaming. No, they decide we're going to fucking ruin the lives of these whores. And they go fill syringes with things. And then they go out into public and they just give a little pokey all over. They go out there and they get their revenge on you for ignoring them. No, it's not the white man's way, but it's going to be the way you're going to get. Oh, it's going to be the way you're going to get. Arrests in France after scores report being attacked with syringes at music festival. Think about how safe the white man made the West. And all these frivolous little airheaded bitches used to be able to go to music festivals left and right. And everything was safe and good and fine. And then they always were badgering the females of both sexes, by the way. Interior Ministries says over 145 people across the country reported, and I've seen reports still counting, being stabbed with needles. The police, by the way, were also stabbed with needles. French police have determined at least 12 suspects detained after 145 people reported being pricked. It's going to be a new type of prick you're going to have to deal with, ladies. Yep. I guess you're just going to have to kiss your partying days goodbye. Millions of people took to the streets across France on Saturday evening for this festivities. Unprecedented crowds in Paris. The feminist influencers. So there's still such entities. Because, women are not held in a superior enough position in the West. Every white female should be anti-feminist because feminism is anti-whiteism. It's a subset. It's all about attacking white males. There ain't no feminism in Iran. There ain't no feminism in Colombia. There ain't no feminism in these places. No white females are heading over saying, we got to fight for the female. We're going to go fight against the patriarchy here. You know what those females do? They go to the males, the white males in the West, and they batter them. They browbeat them. Make them be nice to the girls. Make them treat the females in a superior way. Just like Trump right now is doing to Saudi Arabia. Make them do it. Well, why don't you females do it? I tell you what's going to happen. After Trump and white males make the crown prince elevate females in Saudi Arabia to a position superior to males like they are in the West, females in the West will take the credit for it. That I can tell you. After white males pressure them into this, just like we went around the world ending slavery because it was against our good conscience. There'll be females taking credit for it. So the feminist influencer, garbage human being, warned online before the festival that calls had been made on social media for women to be targeted with syringes. Officials did not say if cases were so-called needle spiking date rape drugs, and then they named the drugs. This has happened before. Victims were taken for toxicology tests. I guarantee you, this is not going to come back as date rape drugs. And the news is not report. It's in the interests of the anti-whites who run the French government to come back and say, "Oh, don't worry about it. It was just a date rape drug, wears right off, no lasting." Except if they prick multiple people, who knows what bloodborne disease you got from the other people that were pricked with the same needle. It's not like they're going to be hygienic about it, right? But I'm going to guarantee you, hepatitis is in these needles. I'm going to guarantee you, hardcore bloodborne diseases are in these needles to get revenge against females who are not showing interest in the 90% of the male population that doesn't have the 10% prettiest faces. Because that's what happens. 90% of men are not going to go around. And you're living off of this echo of white male chivalry. You're living off of this echo, something white males created because we love our women. Females, you did not do that. White males did it because we loved our wives, our mothers, and our daughters. We gave you that. We could have fucking kept you in bondage, and there's nothing you could have done. You were fucking traded like cattle. Do you understand that? Get some respect. You were traded like bread and sheep and cattle for the majority of human history. You did not rise up. You were given this by the white male. So, white males created chivalry because we love our women. Never anything like it on the face of the earth. Look into the history books for yourself, though maybe I've got an incorrect reading. But that's my autodidactic reading of the history of the world. We did this for our women. And now anti-whiteism, white erasing it, and anti-whiteism liberating women from having to be monogamous, liberating women from having to have one or few partners, which is far more natural. And psychology, do the reading yourself. Already arguing that, already showing the ramifications of women having many, many, many sexual partners on their psychology. Look into it for yourself. Already showing that. Liberating them to abuse themselves. And so what happens? Well, now it's, they're not going to even entertain the men who are their peer pairs when it comes to look and status and education and all of the other markers that make for a healthy relationship. No, why would they do that when they can just get on their backs for the 10% prettiest face guys who will have them? Guess what else is going on? Who will have them, by the way, for the moment? Guess what else happens while that's going on? 90% of the male population is watching. And they are not getting their opportunity to find a mate and to start a family. And they're envious and they're angry. And you have in the white male population this echo of chivalry left over, this echo of deference to females because you all are weak and break easy and everything else. So we got this deference because you're effectively adult children. So we have this deference for you. And we go down into our basements. White males should be thanked for this, not condemned for it. They should be thanked that instead of coming together, that 90%, and deciding, oh, we're going to change the system. We're not going to allow the system to march forward like it is anymore. We're going to make it much more difficult for women to ignore us. We're going to make it much more difficult for that 10% of prettiest face guys to have their way, to essentially set up these harems and concubines of the total female population. They go down and abuse themselves. Well, all these others coming in, they don't have that echo of chivalry. They don't have those white norms and sensibilities left over. And the white male population that are sitting around in their basements, they're looking at them. And they're saying they're angry and we're angry. Why am I still hurting myself? Why am I still in this basement? Why am I still playing the video game? Why is it that I only get sex by way of pornography, which is harming me? Why don't I just go out there with the other 90% of men and fucking take it. And they outnumber you, ladies. They outnumber you and they outstrength you. And when enough of the white population caves with the rest of these coming in who don't have these sensibilities, your party will be over. Your little whore fest, girl boss empowerment days will be numbered. So you better come together with healthy white men right now while there's time. Because, Cupcake, folks are showing up with syringes. There's no way to catch them. A little poke here, they caught 12. Who knows how many people were actually involved in that? Something very easy to do, to buy syringes. Bloodborne illness, well, you can find that on every street corner. It's not like they need to go to a lab in Reston, Virginia, where they were studying Ebola and monkeypox and everything else. You don't have to go break into some deep lab. It's on every street corner. Time to get some respect